at his church.
So my relationship with Ryan, I would say, has been great and is marked by, I would say the biggest thing is marked by trust. I really do feel like he trusts me in what I do, and I trust him as he's leading and guiding the church.
I know that my first senior pastor said, look, I don't like surprises. I want to know ahead of time. That way I can be ready and can advocate on your behalf when there's something that comes up and can help explain it. But if I'm surprised, then it's hard to react to those things. And so I always tried to do that, and I always appreciate it when Jason does that with me.
I would say the other thing is our relationship is really marked by encouragement. I think a lot of youth pastors don't realize how much senior pastors face. A lot of what we face in terms of discouragement and things like that. And so I try really hard to be encouraging to Ryan and really to be his head cheerleader.
We all have our individual areas of responsibility. We all are expected to do our own jobs. But as a team, we support each other. We lift each other up. We encourage each other. And we help in those busy seasons.
Your attitude determines a lot. And for me, I would much rather choose to jump in and help and support some things that are going on that aren't necessarily in my area than kind of live in my own little silo. So
we really have worked hard over the last year and a half to foster this team atmosphere. We have worked on building a team covenant that we live out of, and we all know what's on that covenant. We all revisit that covenant, and we'll call each other out based on that covenant.
The staffs that I've been involved in are the healthiest are the ones that are engaged in spiritual life together.
Today, later on, we'll all, as a staff, go out and have lunch together, and then we'll come back and begin our staff time, and that will consist of, we'll spend time loving on God together. I think that's important. We'll sing some songs of worship to God, and just to be able to worship together. It's hard as a staff to find that time, and we create that time on a weekly basis. We'll celebrate Holy Communion together. And then each of us are doing the same daily scripture readings together. And we'll talk together about, where God is speaking to us through the scriptures we've been reading this week, in particular today's readings. And then from there, we'll go into a time of prayer for some of the folks in the church and different things going on. And then after all that, then we'll move into our staff time, the logistics, the administrative things, the different things that are going on. Jason really understands that concept of leading up, and that means, leading to those people. He leads me a lot, and I think that's an important thing that I would want to share with youth ministers, to look at the life of your senior pastor and to look for areas in which you can really serve, to really reach out and try to help, and to be the cheerleader that he talked about.
So I think one of the keys to being able to stay in the life of the church and to be in ministry is you have to have a place where you can vent some of your frustrations and your discouragements, but it can't be your church.
To find people that you trust enough that will hold you accountable if you're out of line. And that's what I try to find in my life, because sometimes I'm venting to my accountability partners, and I'm talking about how wrong this church member is or how stupid they are, and they'll say, but do you see where you're wrong in this? And I just think you need somebody who loves you enough to have that uncomfortable conversation when you're wrong.
Pray for your pastor and his family. I know that seems sort of like a churchy answer, but in my experience, when I've really struggled with my pastors, it's a lot easier to deal with them and see them and accept their leadership when I'm praying for them.
Really work at that relationship and seek to be moldable and understand the authority, I guess, that the senior pastor has, but also the burden and the responsibility that they feel probably too, and recognize the fact that we all have the same mission and ministry, and if one of us struggles, then it's gonna hurt the entire body.
We be friends. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
I'm Carol Cavan Dillon, and I'm the lead pastor here.
Hey, I'm Paul Bonner. I'm the youth minister.
Doug Fuqua, I'm the associate youth minister.
One of the ways that we ensure our healthy staff relationships is at our weekly staff meeting. We have a time where everybody on the staff can check in, and we talk about what's going on in our life, our spiritual health, and we go around the table. And so that really helps us talk about our lives together in and outside the church. Helps us to go a little bit deeper below the surface. And then when important things come up, we can talk about those a lot easier because we've already been talking about our lives together.
I think it's helpful for all of us to be aware of what our ministries involve, and the more I know about the youth ministry, the more room I can give them to do their work without stress from me. And I think the more they know about what my job is like, the better we all work together. If they come to me with a request about something, to understand that I've got 20 other requests for budget or time or whatever it may be that I'm also trying to balance, and I do want to do a good job of balancing all of those things.
Approaching them for their advice or opinion or perspective on certain situations can be a great way of signifying that I don't have all the answers, and I'm going to approach this relationship and this team with humility.
As a part of the communication and keeping the senior pastor kind of in the loop, we really try to include Carol in our prayer concerns into what's going on in our teenagers' lives. So many of our families have kids that are involved in our children's ministry. Their parents are involved in a different part of the ministry, and they have a youth. And looking at that family as a whole and figuring out how we can minister to them is important. And if we don't keep Carol in the loop and other members of our staff, then we're failing to do our part in supporting that family.
I think a lot of pastors are a little intimidated by teenagers. The older we get, the further removed we are from teenagers, the more afraid we are that we just are out of touch, or they'll think we're total geeks. They can't relate to me and I can't relate to them. And I think what youth ministers can do for the senior pastor is to invite him or her to come on Sunday nights or to come on a retreat, to reassure them that they just need to be who they are, and that the teenagers really want to know who they are genuinely.
I mean, so what do you do when your pastor doesn't seem to get it? I mean, that's a hard place to be. I would say you can change your side, and you can't change theirs. And sometimes you have to let their stuff be their stuff, and do everything you can on your end. Pray for them. Take them to lunch once in a while. Do some things to try to build a relationship with them. Maybe they'll get it, maybe they won't. But it's, I think, just a huge need for you to honor the fact that for whatever reason, God's placed them over you.